YouTube too. Okay. Y'all, my bun is bunning.
It is.
It was so bunned that I slept in it last night and it didn't
really?
unbun.
It didn't unbun.
All I had to do was
Wow.
put some more spritz on there. Y'all know how it is. Yay, it's working. Okay. All right. So, sculpting is what we are going to discuss today. How many of you ladies are sculpting already? No?
Well,
Why are you sitting so far in the back? Come on up here.
I tried
Jeez
hard
Louise.
gel the first time, and I did it on myself. It's not great, but I mean, it's the first time I ever tried it, so I guess
Hard
that
gel?
might-
Yeah.
it might be technically sculpting.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if you use the form, you're technically sculpting.
Okay, I didn't then.
See, I knew we was gonna have some scragglers. I was like, let me give them a minute. Okay. All right. So, thank y'all over there on the TikTok. I got y'all set up because y'all be complaining instead of going to YouTube and joining the live like I want y'all to.
It plays better on YouTube.
It really does. I mean, you can see everything. We are live on YouTube for those that are on the TikTok. I'm gonna wait on Miss Gundy to have a seat. All right. So, sculpting. And y'all, this is my favorite subject. And I know I say that about everything because I just love nails. But this really, truly is my favorite subject, nails, sculpting nails, and teaching how to sculpt nails. Because a lot of times you all are afraid to do it because you just don't know how. Okay? Any of you guys tried to sculpt yet?
No,
You haven't even attempted it?
no.
Yeah? How did it go?
I like it.
You like it? Okay, good. Well, hopefully, look at Portia back there like, are you okay? Because she learned it yesterday and she's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Yes, if you guys are on the TikTok, YouTube is much better, much clearer. It might be a little bit of a lag, and different, but you'll still be able to see much better. Okay, but I do have it on the screen for everybody to see. Okay, so let's get into these good slides. All right, so why do you guys think you need to learn how to sculpt?
You've told me it's faster than
Okay.
putting tips on, and I
Okay.
see your point,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never tried sculpting, so.
You've never tried it
Uh-uh.
ever.
Ever.
Okay, hold on. Let me make sure I got my display on here.
The closest I've gotten to stickers is putting them on my trapper keeper.
What?
That shows my age.
Okay, not your trapper keeper, cause honey, why is my? Hold on, y'all. There we go. There we go. Wrong one. Boom. Okay. So what we are gonna talk about today, we're gonna talk about the advantages of forms versus tips. Okay. And there's several advantages. We're also gonna talk about some different shapes that you can make with forms. Okay. Nowadays, you guys have these Gel X tips, and the Gel X tips are great, right? But there's a lot of things, and they come in a lot of the shapes that you can make with forms. Like for instance, I bought some from Max Estrada. They were pipe shaped. You cannot make a pipe shape with a tip. Okay. However, you can't encapsulate. You can't do all these pretty things. And I mean, somebody tried to check me on the live last week and was like, I've been encapsulating gel. I'm like, and then I went to saw her page and I was like, no, you haven't. That's horrible work. So you're definitely not encapsulating properly if that's the case. But with that being said, there's a lot of things that you just can't do with Gel X tips versus forms. So we'll talk about these different nail shapes that you can make with forms, and then we'll also talk about briefly go over the structure again, because now you guys are going to understand why it's so important to have a good structure when it comes to your nails. Okay, so moving right along, what are the advantages to nail forms? I mean, look at these nails right here. Are those not gorgeous?
Yeah.
Right? I didn't do those. However, we did practice how to do that illusion rose technique in the last class. We actually had a little class at my house.
Oh, cool.
I probably won't do that ever again. But but we did learn it. We learned and that's obviously you can put that on a tip too. But look at that shape. Look at the shape of those nails, right? So with that being said, the advantage of forms. Well, number one, they are more natural looking, if you ask me, because this is a more custom shape. You are going to be customizing these forms to fit your client perfectly. Okay? So when I say perfectly, I mean that's when you get to that point. Okay? When you get to that point. All right? It does save time. It saves a lot of time. All right? And when I say it saves a lot of time, we're talking cut in half, if you ask me, okay, when it comes to tips. But that's just, again, that's me with my experience. But think about it. With tips, you have to size the tip. You gotta glue the tip. Then you gotta cut the tip. Then you gotta shape the tip. Then you gotta blend the tip. Oops, it popped off. Now I got to put it back on and do it all over. Oh, the client doesn't like the length. The length is too short. Oh, it's too long. I ain't got to do. So, it definitely saves time. By the time you have glued on all those tips and got them prepared for acrylic, I'm already on my pinky finger on the last hand laying acrylic with my forms. Now, that's with salon style nails, okay? Just popping the form on. Hopefully you have a client that doesn't have weird shaped nails and all that stuff, okay? Now, we'll talk about that in a minute. And you'll also have, an advantage over other nail technicians that do not sculpt. Trust me when I say people will seek you out, okay? They will seek you out if you are really good at sculpting, because again, you can't get some of these shapes, and then have any of you ever worn sculpted nails, had someone sculpt your nails like properly? They feel better on your hands. Like they're light, exactly. I don't know what it is, because the acrylic seems like, I guess maybe the tips are weigh a pound or something extra. But they are definitely, they feel lighter. They feel, think about this, okay? For my wig wearing ladies, I don't know how many of y'all wear wigs, ever wear a wig. But when you wear a wig on top of your head, it feels like it's not a part of you, right? Because you got to take it off and, put it back on and all that stuff, and it's heavy, right? But when you do, say, for instance, extensions that are like maybe tape-ins or the micro beads or micro links, or even when you have a sew-in, it feels like, because you can wash your hair. You can dry it, it's still in there, it's not, going, it feels like it's a part of you. I feel like sculpted nails are kind of that same feeling, because they are attached to the tip of your nail, okay, the free edge of your finger, and not just glued on, if that makes sense. You also have an advantage when it comes to money, okay? Because sculpting nails is a skill that not everybody has, nor do they want to do it. Portia back there said, After I finish these, I ain't never sculpting again until I go to state board, okay? And because of that, because it is a skill, you should be charging for your skill, right? So for me, when I was doing nails full time, I was charging $90 for a sculpted set of very short, square, nothing on them, naked nails, pink acrylic. That's it.
Oh, wow.
And anything else was extra. Okay, so you can really upcharge. Most of my clients didn't walk out with paying less than $180, $200 a set. Okay, with bling and polish and all of that stuff. Okay, so think about that. Okay, as much as you may not want to do this, because yesterday was a mixed bag. I feel like half of the students really liked it, and then the other half didn't. But it really comes with practice, just like anything else. Now, there's several different types of forms out there, y'all. Okay, you've got your disposable forms, which, let me move my big head, are the type on the top here, okay? These are your paper forms or your mylar forms. They also come in several different shapes, okay? Sizes, lengths, all that good stuff. Let me pull up a couple for y'all. Okay, let's see. Show y'all some different ones here. I didn't actually do this yesterday. I meant to. So you got your standard forms. Those gold ones, are they there? Okay. So you got your standard forms, which these are the ones that you guys are going to be using in school because ain't nobody got money for Max Estrada forms for y'all to just be messing up and throwing away. But these are your typical forms that you will see, okay? And there's also forms got it, that look like this, okay? And these are almost identical, right? Except for the wings, okay? So let's talk about the anatomy of a form real quick. So you've got your wings here on the side, and those are very, 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 very important, okay? Because if you've ever tried to use one of these forms, it probably did not work out well for you, and that's maybe one of the reasons why you don't like to sculpt, okay? And the reason for I hate these is because they don't have wings on them. So when you go to apply it onto the client, okay, this part right here pops open because there's just not enough wingspan on this form to keep the nail, keep it closed. And also these tend to be a lot cheaper and their adhesive is not that good, okay? So keep that in mind when you are purchasing forms. If you've never used them before, if you're just going on a website and buying them, you might not get exactly what you're looking for, okay? So I highly recommend, purchasing forms that you can put your hands on. Bless you. If you can't, I know that happens, hopefully you've had a chance to try them on someone else or someone recommended them to you. These Amazon forms ain't always gonna cut it, y'all, okay? You have no idea how long they've been sitting in the Amazon warehouse, in that hot warehouse where the adhesive is just melting on the back of it. It's just like not sticky by the time you get to it, okay? So when you put this on, for instance, if I put this form on me, you can see, I'm pretty sure as soon as I snap it together, it's probably not, it's not even really holding to my finger well. And eventually it pops open. So you really want to invest in really nice forms if you are going to, if you really enjoy sculpting, baby, you're going to have the best forms money can buy, okay? And I have several of them up here right now, okay? And I'm going to be showing you guys some of them. So you've got your typical form here that we use in school, okay? And you've got the wings. And what you also have here are what's known as guidelines. That's what these are. And why do we need them? Like a lot of times you see on forms, for instance, this one is square, like square shaped, it's just got grid lines going back and forth. However, can we get a stiletto shape out of this form?
No.
Absolutely you can.
Oh.
However, the guidelines are not set up to help you achieve that easily, okay? So again, when you start purchasing better forms or forms from different, people who actually, take time to design these forms so that it makes it easier for you, you will see the difference, okay? So for instance, this form, this paper is bent and I hate it. I'm just gonna stick it here. This form is easier to use with square nails or maybe even coffin shape. It's helpful. But then you look at a form like this.
Oh, wow.
And these are Max Estrada's forms, one of his forms, okay? You can see that there is guidelines there for other shapes as well. There are numbers there. The numbers, and there's also wings. The wingspan is huge on this form. And the reason for the wingspan, why you want it to be so big, is because when you're trying to achieve, say, a square nail, we're going to get into this in a minute, real detail. When you're trying to do like a square nail, it's very important that your form stays open at the front, like in a 50% circle, 100% circle if you can. Okay, and when you have a form like this, I don't even know how you would achieve that, because you've got to pinch this closed. And so and what I mean by having it open, this part has to be open. Okay. So with this form, the wingspan, it pops open and the wingspan is not very big wide. Okay. So with this form again is got the, so this is going to help you with the length, your client's length. All right. When they say, hey, I want it to be this long, this long. This is so much more helpful than when they're, on a tip and they're like, oh, right here, cut it right here. And you're like, where? And, so this kind of is going to give your client assurance that they're going to get the length that they want. Okay. There's numbers on this one. And there's numbers on this one too. Again, these are pretty much the same form, just with a different wingspan on it. Okay. Now, you'll notice that it says competitive edge on here. Competition forms, okay? There's a such thing as competition forms. And when I say competition, we're talking about nail techs that they just practice all year just so they can go win this $20,000 on a pink and white French tip set, okay? And but you've got to have certain types of forms, okay? Again, forms come in different shapes, different sizes, different materials. Okay, so this form is made of paper and also a foil. Okay, and you want to have, you'll see whenever you start, if you ever get into competitions, which I'm about to start playing around with competitions myself, because I done seen some folks on this here TikTok win some, and I'm like, I could do better than that. I'm gonna win me some of these competitions. But you'll see when competitors, they actually use foil on the back of these forms to hold the shape, so that when they're sculpting these nails, the forms do not move. Okay, so here's another really awesome form that is super long. Wow. This would be a form that you would use for a competition. These extra long, and you see it's got the stiletto shape and it's got the square shape. I love these forms, but again, they're competition forms, so you don't really need to use them for any other purpose. But that is an example of a very, very, very long form, okay? And you guys that are doing these extendos and stuff, I remember when they were gluing the tips to tips to tips. I'm like, what are you doing? You obviously are a DIY nail tech, because they make tips and forms that you can use, okay? So let's get into a few other shapes, okay? There's all kinds of forms out there, y'all. These are really cute, extra long forms. Again, these are going to give you that stiletto shape. Somebody took some time and designed these really cute, right? Then here's another example of some forms. Now, we talked about the wings, we talked about the guidelines, but what about this circle up here, or this part right here? What is this for?
I guess the finger to go in?
This is okay, so this is the opening to put your finger in. And some of these forms, again, have a very rounded, because technically a normal, like my mom always said, normal is sitting on a wash machine, not on nails, right? But most normal nails, these should fit, okay? But what if you've got a client that has a square, boxy shaped nail, or maybe they even have a very, what we call a fleshy pad, if you want to be professional. I say fat ass fingers, but this part right here sticking out, you see how the skin sticks out from the side walls? Well, not every finger is going to be like that. For instance, I got a little teeny weeny little pinky finger right here, barely got any fat on it, okay? And the form will also is hard to put on when you don't hardly have any skin on the side, or meat on the side, as we say. But if you look at this form, for instance, this Max Estrada form here, when you take the tab out, look at that. What is the purpose of it being shaped this way? Well, you can customize any form. I can customize the plain gold one I just had, right? I could cut it and shape it. But this is going to assist you with putting it on a client that has high hyponychiums, for one. For instance, if you've got clients who the tip of their finger right here, the skin protrudes out, you're not able to put that form on very easily, this will help you with that. Okay. Fit it, but it's not going to help you with a client that has very square nails, right? It's not going to help at all. So with that being said, you got to know what kind of forms you're buying. Also, what kind of nails are you doing? Right? Are you doing salon style nails? Or are you trying to impress these folks and charging them $300-$400 for a set? Okay. And you know, I've done nails like that before. If they took me a long time, you're going to pay a lot of money. Okay. So there's also, and I call this the Snapchat ghost or the cat ears. Okay. If you know, the Snapchat ghost be like, you know, but this part of the form right here, this area is cut out like that so that you can have what's known as relief cuts. Okay, relief cuts. And again, relief cuts, for instance, I got this really fat finger here, right? Let's just say I put this on. Now I would have to make more of a cut here, but if I cut further, it's gonna open up the form so that I don't have a really wide nail. Okay, a muffin top nail, as I like to call it. Okay. Again, putting forms on is not just slapping them on. I see it all the time. Okay. And the reason why most clients are having issues with retention or their nails breaking is because you're not customizing the form properly. And again, this takes skill and it's something that's going to, take a lot of practice, but I am going to be teaching an advanced sculpting class to teach you guys how to customize forms. We'll get into a little bit of it today, but not too, I don't want to get too detailed and get you scared and all that stuff. Okay. So let's see. I have, because I was designing my own forms at one time and they sent me a bunch of samples. And for instance, this one here is clear. It's completely clear. I think they wrote on the back of it. Yeah, made out of PVC, thickness 0.13. Like this is what they were sending me to test these out. Okay, and why would you need a clear form?
For gel, Arthur?
For gel. Okay, when you are now you can use a regular form with gel as well, but for instance, this is a clear form. You can see through it. Okay, and so when you're doing gel, which we will get into next week, when you're doing gel, you need the product to cure all the way through. If it doesn't cure all the way through, when you take the form off, it's going to be mushy and gooey underneath there. And when you're using a form like this, let's just say one that's opaque, the gel cannot see through the bottom. Like the light can't penetrate through the bottom of the form. So sometimes when you take the form off, it'll be cured on top and mushy and gooey underneath. Okay? And you don't want that because then you've got to pat it and cure it and do it. It's just, and you don't want it on your client's fingers. Okay? So again, there are several different types of forms and shapes and lengths. And these are some of the ones they sent me, okay, to test out. And they wrote on the back what they're made out of. Okay, this one I'm assuming is foil. Yeah, I might need to call them about that one. Because that foil, you really want, for competition forms, you really want a foil-based form. Okay, now, moving right along, you also have what's known as reusable nail forms. Okay, reusable nail forms. And they're those ones at the bottom that you see there. They're pre-shaped. They are absolutely horrible to use. The only shape I can get out of it is a duck foot nail. That's because they don't stick together at all. I mean, they're aluminum and reusable, but you can't make a stiletto out of them. I don't even know why they make those. I don't even know why. But anyway, I digress. But they are out there, okay? And you can sanitize them, disinfect them, and reuse them, okay? Now, we have talked about, this was a review, we've talked about how you prep a nail for tips, right? Well, with forms, it's going to be a little bit different, not much, okay? Before you glue on a tip, you're going to do your, you guys know how to do your dry manicure, wash the hands, do your dry manicure, push back the cuticles, remove the shine with the buffer, cleanse the nail plate, do all that good stuff. But when you get ready to put the dehydrator and primer on, you may want to wait until after you put the forms on, okay? Because you might accidentally touch the nail plate. Now you've put and it takes time. Remember how long you have for dehydrator and primer to be on the nail. So if you're fitting forms to a client's nails and it takes you 10, 20 minutes to do all of that, then it's probably going to need to be reapplied anyway, right? So just wait until after you have put the forms on. I also recommend, especially for these clients that have not really had sculpted nails before, just do a couple of fingers, at maybe 3 or 4 fingers at a time when you're putting your forms on. Leave them free with one hand so that they can text and dig in their nose and scratch their butts and all that stuff, okay? Because when you put those forms on, if you take the time to put those forms on, let me tell y'all a little story. I don't know if I've told y'all this story. But I had a client. She was a new client. This was back when I was doing nails illegally in my house, okay? My bathroom was right there. It was a spare bedroom, bathroom right there in the corner of the room. Lady comes in, and I don't even think, I didn't do anything but sculpt back then. So it wasn't no option. You paid my price. I sculpted. I didn't even have any tips in my house or glue or anything. So she was like, she sat down. She was kind of confused at what I was doing. She didn't really know. She was a referral or whatever. She didn't know what these forms are or whatever. And then all of a sudden, she was like, I am so sorry, but I got to go to the bathroom. I was like, what? And she just hopped up. I don't know. She was an older lady. I don't know if she had a UTI or what. But she went into that bathroom, and she came back with like half of the forms hanging off. But she still had them on, and I'm like, so you ain't wash your hands or nothing. So what you want me to do? I was like, at the end of the day, I had to reschedule her because I spent 30 minutes putting those forms on both hands. She might have could have got away with, just wiggling and trying to get her pants down with one hand. So I highly recommend just doing one hand at a time so that your clients, if something arises where they need their fingers, they can do it, okay? And because you're going to be mad. And she was mad because I had to reschedule her. I was like, ma'am, I just spent almost an hour of my time prepping and putting your forms on, and then you come back and they hanging off, and now you didn't even wash your hands, nasty. Huh? Everything, the whole process. Because, see, I don't just pop forms on. I customize my forms, okay, to fit the client, and as you should, okay? So, you guys got that procedure, right? You want to do your dry manicure, all that good stuff. Try to just do a few, especially if you're doing like gel, hard gel, okay? You're going to want to do 2 or 3 fingers at a time. At the end of the day, these forms barely going to fit in the light with your hand and the form on. Think about how far this comes down. So you got to be really careful. And so doing it a couple of nails at a time will be helpful. All right. So we already know about our dehydrator and primer and stuff, right? So some of the shapes that you've probably never heard of before. We got Russian almond, edge, pipe, Gothic almond, roof, stiletto, edgeletto, Monroe, Blair, blade, fringe. You cannot create these shapes with tips unless you've got tips that are made in that shape, like pre-made, okay? And they just don't make tips shaped like this, okay? So these are all the possibilities are endless when it comes to sculpting nails. You can make any shape you want. As a matter of fact, in the competition realm, they have some of these competitions, because all the competitions have different rules. They have to. They're proprietary, actually. Like, you can't copy the rules from another competition. You have to follow. So you have to follow. Every competition has different rules. So with that being said, there's a competition that I heard about recently that has a create your own shape competition. And this is nothing. These are the most common sculpted shapes that are not square, round, almond, and stiletto. Okay.
How somebody would want to blare, because look at that hook up there.
Let me tell you, that's one of those that you just do one nail like that, and the rest of them are whatever.
Okay.
But these are most of these shapes are for you're not going to get too many clients that even know what these are. Okay, a lot of these shapes are coming from Europe. Okay, Russia. I'm telling you, they got the game on lock when it comes to structure and sculpting and things of that nature. Okay, I follow a bunch of Russian nail techs. I watch them on TikTok in the morning when I'm getting ready for work, because I don't know what time it is over there, but they be and don't understand nothing they're saying, but but that's your sculpted shapes, possibilities endless. So check that out. We've already talked about this. This is going to be a review, because you guys are going to need to know this when you start visualizing it on this paper that I'm about to pull out. Our structure, what do we need? We got to have our arch, aka apex. Our side walls must be present. Because remember, when you're sculpting, you're creating this. So you're not going to have the tip to fall back on. You also need to be aware of the underside of the nail. Okay, make sure that there's no acrylic seeping down past your form. That's why customizing is so important. The thickness of your nail is important, as well as the C curve, and also the length, especially when it comes to sculpting. Okay, so look at those nails. Aren't they beautiful? Definitely sculpted. That's a pipe. Okay, that's a pipe shape. All right, so those are the slides. Now let's get into this good visual. Okay, so I'm going to be giving you guys one of these laminated sheets here to practice on. Okay. Will you just turn off the overhead lights? Because the overhead lights put a glare on my lamination. Ooh, that one got a little womp in it. Okay, perfect. Okay. First and foremost, what you guys need to know about sculpting forms. We talked about those guidelines, right? And I'm going to use these forms that we use in school, okay? Because it would be I'll be doing you a disservice to show you anything else first. Okay, so I'm going to take this form and fold it completely in half so that you can see what's going on here. Okay, zoom. So this is my finger, can you tell? So these, let me get out, I have to bust out a ruler, y'all. Gotta bust out a ruler for this, all right? Didn't know we were going to be doing arts and crafts today. Okay, so when you're putting a form on, it's very important that you know the area of the nail that the form needs to line up with. Okay, that's what these guidelines. Why would you have guidelines for any other reason? So first and foremost, the midline of the nail. When you're putting a form on, you need to be aware of where the midline of the nail is. Okay, so if I'm doing this perfect, the midline is going to be about right there. Okay, the middle of the nail. Now, the first knuckle is where we're just going to stop. We're paying attention more to that portion of the finger, okay? So when you're applying your forms, your form guidelines are very important in conjunction with the midline of the nail, okay? So if you know where the midline of the nail is on your client's finger, then you should be able to pop these forms on with no problem with practice, okay? So and this is very important also when you're choosing, when you're applying it for different shapes, because every shape has a different position on the nail, okay? So if we're going to call this a square, okay? This is square shape. When you apply your form, you're going to apply it and see how my guideline, let's line this line up. Okay, you see that guideline right here, this one at the top?
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right. Is it straight with my guide with the midline of my nail? Absolutely. Okay. Now, when you're putting the form on, I don't want you to pay attention to these lines because you're like, oh, well, it's a square and I'm gonna line up my acrylic with that line. That's not what the guidelines are for. The guidelines are so that you can see that this form is on straight. Okay. So for instance, let me is my form straight with my guideline, with my midline of the nail? Is my guidelines the same? So even if I put this form on completely straight, which it's still, is it straight?
Yeah.
Yes. And you know that because this line, these lines here, and that midline is parallel with each other. They run right next to each other completely straight. So when you're doing a square nail, the guidelines need to be completely straight with the midline of the nail, okay? So when I apply this, I'm going to apply it just like this, straight. This is what I see you guys do a lot, and this happened a whole lot yesterday, is you tend to tip this down and because you want to squeeze this together to make it stick. Okay, remember this thing is going to fit. It's going to wrap all around this nail. It's going to stick, okay? This is not going to give you a square shape. However, it will give you another shape. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. So, square shape is going to be parallel guidelines to the midline of the nail. Got that? You might, if you don't, you might want to write this down. Okay? Now, the middle of the nail from the top view, okay, because this is important as well. From the top view, we also have a midline of the nail. Okay? Give or take. And when you apply these forms, when you are applying your form on your client, you have to look from a 360 angle. Legit, 360, not these. Yeah, I don't need those. 360 angle, thank you. So when you put this form on, you're going to take it off this paper, the sticky back. And I always take my tab and we're going to bring it down. And if your forms are not, if you don't do this straight, your nails will not be straight. Okay? It's very important that you follow these guidelines and that you are folding these forms completely straight. But before I fold it, I just want to show you what we're doing from the top view. So when you apply this to your client, is this straight?
No.
Absolutely not. And if you put that on right there and you try to close it, the nail's gonna go like that, like that. Okay. So, or your C curves, when you look at it from the barrel, meaning this way, if it is not, if it's twisted, you're gonna have it's gonna be like a bent straw. Okay. So it's very important that we apply the form up under the free edge and absolutely straight with the midline of the nail. Okay? I didn't put that on very good, but you see what I'm saying. Straight out. Okay? Now, I really didn't want to stick that all the way down because these things stick really good, as you can see. Okay. So, you're probably, when you're doing this on a client that has, let's just say, a fatter finger like this, right? You're probably not going to be able to get that form on easily because of all of that skin that's popping out, right? From the side. So when I put this on a client, first and foremost, and this took a little bit of practice from some the students yesterday, so just trust me when I say, you got to do it how I teach you, okay? You're going to want to, don't just put the form on like this and then just close it, okay? Because you're going to have it crooked. It's going to be crooked. Do yourself a favor and go ahead and pre-pinch just a little. I mean, barely. Don't close it because you won't be able to get that finger in there, okay? So go ahead and open this up, the back, so that you can get the finger in, okay? Give it a little pull open so that it's not in your way. And when you put this on your client, you guys want to follow, you always want to follow the client's natural curve of their nail. So if I put this on my nail and I just put it on like that, you can see that this back part is sticking way up and the form is actually, is it straight? Absolutely not. And how do you know that? It's not lining up with this guideline is not lining up with the midline of my nail. It's tipping downward. Okay? So, and you can do this on yourself. The midline of my nail is here. Okay? First knuckle. When I put this on, start practicing like this. Now, I'm not trying to line up that line. It just happens to line up, don't it? But I'm not trying to follow that line. I just want to, with my eyeballs, see that this form is straight. Also, from the top view. So this is why you don't want to attach it yet, because you got to do some finagling and some moving around. Okay? So when I look at this, it's down the middle, isn't it? Pretty much, right? And then on the side, I want to tip it up just a hair. Okay, and then hold those pieces together and then squeeze very gently. Why? Because if I squeeze this tight, this hole is going to close and then I'm going to get a different shape. So for square, you want a 50% circle on your form. So your form needs to look like this. Okay? Open at the tip, from the tip, okay? That's going to be your 50% circle for your C curve for a square nail, okay? So this form that I have on my finger is how it should be on the nail for a square nail, okay? And I got another visual for y'all because I did a whole lot of drawing this weekend. Show y'all this. Okay. Okay. You see how the form, this is a Max Estrada form. See how the form is going straight out. Center line of the nail. We've got our first knuckle here. When you apply the acrylic, your apex, because y'all gonna ask me how high. Y'all know where the apex goes, right? Anybody remember? First third, back third, however you want to call it, of the nail, right? But how high is it supposed to be? Because I done seen some apexes like that look like speed bumps, like just woo, like whoop. Okay, how high is it supposed to be? Well, generally, you're going to line the apex up with that back knuckle, that second knuckle. Okay, so however the height of that second, no height, you don't want it way up here, right? So it looks like it's high. You know, they look higher than your natural nail, but of course, when you lay acrylic, it's going to be a little bit higher, right? So that's how the square nail is going to look. We're going to break it up into 3 sections. Now, this is all math, right? But when we're doing this on a client, you're going to visualize it. Don't sit out here and don't bust out no protractor like I did, okay? This is for, I have a protractor, okay? And this is what your C curve should look like from the front view, okay? And again, when you're talking about competition nails, let me show y'all some tools that they use in competitions, because this is when I put this, don't look like a 50% circle like completely, right? Yeah. No, because we making $20,000 on these nails. However, when they're in competitions, they use have you guys ever seen these before?
No.
These are called C-curve sticks. Oh. Okay? And when you're in competition, they're using nails. They're just different sizes. Okay. They just fit inside each other. Okay. Oh, okay. So, when they're doing competitions, they have the C-curve stick in there, and it is going to be perfect. And they have a little piece of foil or a foil form that won't move. So that you shape it into that perfect C-curve, right, like this. And then they take it out. Of course, now I got it stuck in there because I got tape on the back. There we go. There we go. Okay. So when you put that on the client,
it's perfect. Oh.
You see?
Okay.
Again, it bounced back a little bit because this isn't a foil form, 100% foil form. But in competitions, they use these C-curve sticks to get that perfect C-curve. In real life, ain't nobody got time for that for no $80 set of nails, okay? It's going to be as good as it's going to be. So, y'all see the form shape here for the tip, all right? Now, when we get into shapes like stiletto, okay, stiletto shape. And I drew a bunch of different ones here to show you guys, okay, what you don't, or how you tip this form down. Because in this case, with stiletto, you will tip the form downward, okay? And how far downward will depend on the length of the nail, okay? But what I want you to notice, even though this form is tipped downward, what do you notice about the midline or the side walls of my nail? What do you notice about the side walls? Even here. It's still straight. Okay? And how are you going to keep that nail straight? You've got to follow them guidelines. And on a form like this, the guidelines are not going to help you. That's why having different shaped forms for different shapes that you're trying to achieve is helpful. So, where's those? Here we go. These are some of the ones that we use in the school for stiletto to visualize. So, for instance, this is a stiletto form, right? You could do any shape on it, but it has the guidelines for stiletto. So, go ahead, pre-do your wings. I'm going to fold this completely in half, though, so that you guys can have the visual of what you need to do for stiletto. So, we've got our stiletto form, and if we want to achieve a stiletto shape, we're going to tip the form downward a bit. Okay, still got my midline, right? If I were to follow the guideline or put this straight like a square nail, because this form is meant for stiletto, but if I were to keep it straight, what would happen? And y'all do this all the time.
The nail will go up.
The ski slope, okay? Because you're trying to put the form on straight because, you saw on YouTube that they put them on straight and then you got a nail that does this, okay?
The swish.
Or you're like, okay, well, a stiletto, I heard that you're supposed to tip it down and then you tip it like this. And then you got it's a look, right? Yeah. It is a look. People do where they want that, But what's going to happen structurally, what is going to happen to this nail? We've already discussed that side walls must be present and they must be straight. Okay, in order for that nail to last. So what guidelines am I going to be following here? Well, this is very simple, and I know you probably can't see it without me zooming in really good. Okay, so if my client says that she wants, and I don't know what number, I don't know, I can't even see the number with my glasses. They're right here on my head. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so can y'all see the numbers kind of, sort of? That's like an 8. If my client said, let's just say she wants these nails as long as this form is. I want them this long. How am I, because remember, we need to keep our guidelines straight. How far am I going to tip this down? I want the tip to be all the way to the tip of this nail. My client wants it that long. So where am I going to shift this to? Just a little, like right there? Like right there? Yeah. Okay, so I want y'all to think about it. Where's the guideline at? We're coming straight out, right? So if I leave it right there, what length can my client get with a proper stiletto? How about right there?
Yeah.
That's the longest that they can get. For proper sidewalls, because look at the guide. See, there's still guidelines there, aren't they?
Yeah.
There's a guideline. So if my client wants her nail this long, that means I need to have this form with the guideline, the tip of the right here. It looks like it's not straight, doesn't it? But this guideline at the bottom is straight, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got to pay attention to because the lines are gonna confuse you if you don't know what they're for. Okay, so if my client, and that's because, so if my client wants a stiletto, her nail, we're gonna bring it all the way out to here. Okay, and then she's gonna get a little apex right there, and we're gonna put our acrylic on it like that. Okay, that's what her length is gonna be. And is that not straight? Are my sidelines not straight? Hold on. So that's what her nail's gonna look like, right? Now, if my client says, well, damn, it's supposed to be dry erase. Hold on, let me get another one. She wants her nail. Where's my midline? I gotta draw it again. She wants to have her nail shorter. We'll say she wants it to about right. Oops, sorry. She wants it to about right there. We need to bring that form right straight up along the midline to here. You see it still, if she wants it to the 4, we still got a straight line. Now, when you put this on your client's finger, that's very important as well with stiletto, because if my client says that she wants her nails as long as this form, I'm going to go ahead and pre-pinch it. I'll put it on my finger here. First of all, are my lines straight? Yeah. No, they tipping up. Look.
Oh.
They're tipping up. So that means I need to, hold on, I want to open the back so I can get this off and on. It's very important that you open up the back a little bit, because then you'll be able to remove it and customize it, okay? So if my client wants her nail as long as this form, I've got to, right there, isn't it? About right there?
Yeah.
Let me see, where's my midline of my nail? I have a white line on here. There it goes.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so this is going to have to be about right there. Okay, now, when I pinch this from the above view, we need to pinch it to the very tip, don't we?
Yeah.
But what if she changes her mind? She's like, no, Mary, that's too long. I think I want to go to the 5. What do I need to do? Where do I pinch it to?
The 5?
Right at the 5. You need to pinch it all the way down to the 5. Don't that make sense?
Yeah.
because you're trying to get a point, right?
That length.
But now look at this though. It's sloping up, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I need to tilt it down a little bit more for a 5. Y'all get where I'm coming from with this?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when I put this form on and I snap it closed, what do you notice is happening?
Yeah, they're
This
open.
this is bulging, isn't it? It's like sticking out. So what happens if you don't make relief cuts, because I'm going to show you guys how you make relief cuts, okay? What you're going to get is a fat, wide nail, okay, at the C curve. Your C curve needs to be 50% from the free edge all the way out, okay? It's going to narrow, of course, when it gets to the tip. But this part right here, if it's flat, because my nail don't have a real deep curve to it, if it's real flat, then flat nails break, okay? So, also, fat nails are not cute.
That's true.
Sorry. So, when you get ready to customize this form, you want to give yourself relief cuts. And I know you've all seen these little scissors that people use on cuticles that they should not be using them on cuticles, right? What they're for is for cutting forms, all right? So what I'm going to do, now this is going to be helpful to you, and I wanted you to see this too because I've never shown you this. Well, I don't know where my white pen, there it is. Okay. Get yourself, when you're practicing, get yourself one of these gel pens, okay? One of these white pens. Tailoring a form, again, this is something I'm going to teach in advanced techniques, okay? You guys will be welcome to join, but this is an advanced technique. Not everybody has this perfectly round, free edge. Some people got free edges like this. Y'all see that? This is my finger that I fell on when I broke my elbow. It's still healing, okay? But how do you put a form on that? Well, you're going to have to customize it, because if I put a form on it, even right now, if I just try to put a form on it, I'm not going to get skin. I'm going to have product getting on the skin, and you don't want that, okay? You don't want that at all. So how would I customize a form if it didn't fit perfectly up underneath? Well, get you one of these little gel pens, okay? And you're going to take it and you're going to, hold on, I got to recharge it. There we go. And trace, because putting a form on is just like a puzzle piece. Trying to create a puzzle piece to fit on you can't force it, right? So when you trace it there, now when you pull it off, you can see where you need to cut, okay? So your relief cuts are going to be those, remember the Snapchat ghost? Well, we're going to cut it further than that. We're going to bring it 45. Y'all know what 45 degrees is, right? You got a 90 degree angle, L shape. 45 is half of that, okay? So we're going to cut right here where that white started, because that's where my side walls are, where they start. I'm going to take and I'm going to cut. Am I cutting? Okay, I can't see. There we go. Right there, boom. Cut there. Same thing on this side. Try to make them the same length, okay, if you can. And then I'm going to trim out all of the white. Don't get a black gel pen. Don't be like, I'm going to get a pink one. You're going to catch hell trying to get that pink off your free edge when you're trying to sculpt these nails. So now I have a perfect replica of my finger. So when I put this on, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Fit perfect. And look at the side walls.
Sidewall to sidewall.
And when I put this on and I squeeze it together, look.
Oh, yeah.
Relief. Meaning, like when your pants too tight and you cut a little snip out the side, so your little fat meat can fold over and it don't bother you and make a little, rash right there. I used to be a real fat kid when I was growing up. That's what you just did. You just busted out the sides so that it can fit properly. And now, when I lay my acrylic, I'm going to have plenty of room to file the side walls of the nail without ruining the shape. And I'm going to get a nice, slender, nice, perfect, not overweight nail. Okay? And you can't do this with tips. When you're laying a nail, a tip on top of a nail that's already wide, it just got wider. It's like putting on, extra clothes when it's cold. You got 3, 4 layers, 5, 6 layers, you look bigger. Same thing with tips. Sculpting forms is going to give you that customized, sleek shape. And again, you probably couldn't even put a form on that without customizing it. Okay? And you probably wondering, well, how would you do it on this nail, Miss Mary? I'll show you in the advanced sculpting class. Okay? You don't need to even go there today. But that is what you want for your stiletto. And then always keep in mind you're pinching to the length. Okay? Now, what about, because we do other shapes, right? Almond. Okay? You notice on the form, this is actually like a pipe nail, pipe shape. But if you were looking at this from the above view, it would look like an almond.
Yeah.
Okay? But follow your guidelines, same as before, okay? And this is also going to be straight for this pipe. Now, for other shapes, let me just bring out my other ones.
So when you cut the form to fit the shape, the length is not going to be all the same, right?
When you cut the forms to fit,
The nail.
you'll have to eyeball it a little bit because you did trim a little bit off, but it's very minute. Very minute. I mean, always give yourself room to file. Okay? For instance, client says they want their nails to a 7. You're going to go to an 8 or a 7.5 and then file them all down to the perfect length. Because even the forms, you got to remember all the nails, they might be the same length, but if I make my pinky a 7 and my thumb a 7, the thumb's going to look short and the pinky's going to look mad long. Okay? So, with an almond, we also do a slight tip down, okay? Again, keeping those guidelines straight, okay? And from the above view here, pinch to the length again, okay? And then also, again, there's stiletto, same thing, pinch to the length. Your relief cuts, 45-degree angles, okay? Always remember that, 45-degree angle. And also a slight tip downward. And then your coffin or your tapered square, straight, always straight, okay? So there's only, with our salon style nails, there's literally either straight or slight tip down. Those are your options for square, almond, coffin, and your stiletto. Okay? But just remember, with coffin, you're going to close that form, the tip of it, depending on the length of the client's nail again. So let me show you what that looks like. With coffin, because you could use a stiletto form with coffin.
That's true.
Okay? You're going to pinch it to closed. When you put your coffin on, think about it. You're not going to pinch it all the way. And if you pinch it all the way, you're going to get a stiletto, right? But when I close this, it's still tapered. Does it not taper off? So if my client wants a coffin, but she wants it, let's just say she wants it at a 7, well, if I lay it at a 7, I'm going to have a nice taper, aren't I? But if she wants it at a 4, it's going to be a wide coffin.
Yes.
So I'm going to need to pinch it a little bit more, right? So that to where however wide you want the tip of your coffin to be. Because some people's coffins are really narrow. Some people look like, I think there's a difference between coffin and ballerina. Okay? but you know, that's neither here nor there. So with coffin, you're also going to squeeze that tip a little bit, okay, or tapered square. All right. So what you ladies are going to do today, does everybody understand how a form should fit? Okay, now when you start getting into these, you know, all these shapes and stuff, like all these different shapes, you'll notice, just like I told you from the side views, that pretty much everything is straight. Okay, as a matter of fact, all of them are straight at the bottom. Okay, when you start getting into the top, this is a arrow, this is real, yeah, this is different. Okay, but you see how those lines now, so your guideline, your bottom side wall is always straight, but you would tip that form way up, but you still need to make sure that your bottom side wall is really, really straight. And then they also show you what the front view of the form looks like for each one of these. Okay, so you know, when you do competitions, these are some of your options. Okay, notice stiletto. See how the stiletto tips down, but the guideline straight. Okay, that's the C curve of the free edge. All right, so what you guys are going to do today, and this is something that I haven't shown you guys how to do yet, when you are sculpting today, you're going to want to use your mannequin hand, but to keep from having to soak off a million times over and over and over again, y'all, I tried out that peel off base. It's working really good. Not Unt works really good. It won't last a day. It won't last 5 minutes. You can't even file on the nail. But this is that Jello. I'll show you guys later. All right, so what you're going to do today is you're going to use the tape. Where's my tape?
It was right here.
Well, I have a box of tape somewhere. Like with 20 tapes in it. Oh, okay. Shayla came in here, moved and cleaned up, and now I can't find nothing. Okay. So this is paper tape, okay? You can get this at any, CVS or whatever. This is going to be very helpful for when you are doing your forms today. So do not apply the tape long ways, meaning don't do it this way.
Oh.
Okay? Don't do it this way, and don't flip it down like that, because you're not going to be able to get your forms on that way. Okay? What you want to do, this tape is going to make it so you can pop your acrylics off easily. Okay? What you're going to do is you're going to take this tape and you're going to put it across the nail like this. Let me zoom. Okay? Give yourself enough room where you can have a free edge sticking out, because we're still going to glue a tip on here. Okay? Where all my tips went?
I ain't moving.
Well, they in here. I'll just open one of these, because I'm sure she got one of them back there too. I think this is a size 3. Anybody remember what size the pointer nail is? 3, I think. Okay. So when you put the tape on there, make sure you got a good little free edge. Push down the side walls, right, so you can see the nail. And make sure that the tape isn't sticking way out. And then we're going to apply one of these tips. Open up my glue. I'm going to apply this tip to the actual tape. Okay? Y'all, save yourself a headache. Go ahead, put it on there, and then apply it. Boop, like so. Okay? So, one of the things that I did not mention when you are applying forms is preparing the nail plate, okay? The free edge of the nail. What do I mean by that? You cannot put a form on a nail that is this long. You're going to have clients that come in and they're going to be like, well, I'm growing my nails out, but I really want them sculpted, and please don't cut the free edge. And you're gonna have to be like, I'm sorry, I can't. I gotta cut it.
Okay.
If you try to put a form on a long nail, okay, I'm gonna try my best to put this on here, right? Because that's what you're gonna do. What you're gonna have is gaps,
Oh, yeah.
okay? And when you lay the acrylic, which this happens to fit really good, but you know, I can't mess nothing up to save my life. Her nails curve, so if she tried to put a form underneath her natural nails, the form isn't gonna fit, okay? So you would have to trim this client's nail down, and I don't mean just trim it like clip, done, okay? Trim it. I have a whole set, like this little box right here. These are my sculpting tools, okay? In there, I've got a bunch of stuff, but in particular, you want to have a nail file that you can get literally everything off. I know you think the form will fit better if I got a little free edge. It might be easier for you to put it under there, but it's not going to fit properly, okay? So file everything down. File it completely down, okay? Sidewalls are very important that you get. If the sidewalls are sticking out, the form's not going to fit right, okay? So even with this nail that I've got right here, that I just glued on, if I put this on here, what's going to happen, which this one's kind of rounded, but if you look at it, it's too long. And now on my side, am I going to be able to get I'm going to have gaps on the side.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you want to do is you want to trim this client's little free edge, which she ain't got much. Okay. But you want to trim the free edge and the side walls, bring that all kind of rounded so that it fits. Remember, we're trying to fit like a puzzle piece. Okay. And if you got sidewalls that are jutting out, it's not going to fit properly, okay? Now, you're going to prep that nail. In this case, I don't really have to because the client is not real, okay? We're going to apply that nice and straight. Now, remember, this is a mannequin hand, so it's going to be, the knuckles are a little weird and look funny and all, but is this form on straight? Because this is what you guys are going to do. Have it sticking straight up in the air. That form is not on straight. So, what we need to do to make it straight is do what, y'all? Is it straight? Tip it up some. There we go. How about right there?
Yeah.
All right, and because I want you guys to practice, you can practice whatever you want, but please try a square because that's what you're going to do at Stay Board. Okay? So, when I squeeze this closed, is she straight? Yep, she's straight. Okay. Now, try to. Well, she ain't straight there.
Oh.
Lord of mercy. Hold on. Let me tilt that some. Okay. So now she's straight, and now let's look here. Okay, we're good. All right. So now you're going to lay your acrylic. And do you guys remember laying your acrylic? I need one of them pads.
Which one?
Those pads right there. No, the
white.
green pads. Yep. You put all that stuff over there.
Sorry.
And I'm like, where's
I'm
everything
sorry,
at?
I'm
You
sorry.
good. I didn't want you to have to keep getting up. Okay. So I'm going to use some of this Chawn Legend acrylic, okay? Just because, I bought it and we need to use it. Shit, I don't use it for nothing else. And I had some money man. I had some, and I had a clean dish, snipping dish. I ain't move that now. We'll just use this one. It's all good. Okay. All right. And I got my brush here. Okay. What you're going to do. Same thing you guys did on that paper. Remember we practiced, I know y'all hated me, but you know what? It's going to make it a whole lot easier today. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick up a bead. The first bead needs to attach the form to the nail. So we're going to lay it right here, okay, and press and release. See how it's starting to polymerize? Press, press, press. If you put it on the form too soon, it's going to run away from you. Press it out. Remember what I told y'all? Press it way out because we're going to bring it back, okay? And what you're pressing for is to make everything level. Now, bring in the shape. Go push in the sides. Use your guidelines to help you. Push in the side. To the side wall. Notice that my guideline, now it tipped down a little bit, but notice that my my guideline is not where I'm laying that acrylic, okay? The guideline is just to make sure that the form is on straight, okay? Press, press, press. You got time to work with it. And put your shape in. So that's bead number 1. Bead number 2. Okay, give it a second. Go right behind the first bead. Press, 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 and pull. See that? Now, press everything out and blend it to the front. I know I make this look easy, y'all. I'm sorry. Y'all wouldn't want to learn it if I didn't, right? Not from me. Now, tip your nail forward some. And pick up another bead. This one's slightly smaller. Tip the nail forward. Press it there. Drop it. Okay, let it polymerize. See how it got smooth? Now I'm going to tuck in the cuticle area by holding my brush at a 45-degree angle while also creating my apex. And then I'm going to bring everything forward. And so when you look at it from the side, you can see your apex in there. Okay? And make sure everything is smooth. And the cuticles are not, the sidewalls are not coming off the side of there. Okay? Now, how do I know when this nail is ready for me to take the form off? And how do you know when that happens? It turns matte, right? And you'll also be able to click it, because if I click it right now, I'm gonna put a dent in it. Okay. Now there's other tools that are used in sculpting. This is one. This is called a pinching tool. Okay. And when we pinch, what we're trying to do is create a C curve that may or may not be there as much as we want it to be. For instance, when you pinch a C curve, notice how this nail will get slimmer slightly. Okay. And where do you pinch a C curve? Because I see people do this. They're pinching way down here. Like, what are you doing? At the free edge, right where those relief cuts would be. In that same spot. At 45-degree angle at that. Okay? So this is starting to cure, but is it ready? No. Not at all. However, when we pinch, we have to find that sweet spot. Okay? The time when you pinch is going to be when the nail is still slightly pliable, but not too soft, because you'll collapse the sidewalls or put dents in your nail. Okay? So this is what you would do at State Board. Something simple, short, sweet, and to the point. You ain't got to pinch nothing. You ain't got to cut no relief cuts. You ain't got to do none of that. You shouldn't have to on a mannequin hand. But I want to pinch this. Now, Tammy Taylor, she uses her thumbs. And she gives a nice little, even distribution of weight here. But there's also, you've probably seen these as well. And my rubber band just broke on it.
I've not seen those.
Hold on, I got another one with a rubber band. Now these are my competition ones. I put these on, but what you do is you put this on here like this, and they're also for gel because they're clear, right? So these are a cheaper version of one, and then you've got, you know, these. So I'm gonna put this. It's still. You see, it's not ready. You see, it bent my acrylic a little bit. So you want to be careful when you put this one on. You're gonna pinch it right at the side walls where they meet. Okay, it's got to be at the right time, or you're gonna ruin your nail. Okay, here's another one. Okay. Another style. Okay. These, I think I used to use them for something else, but you can't really tell at the tip. These can be very painful for your client too if you squeeze it too much, and also can cause a nail disorder if you squeeze it too much. Which one? Anytime you have something that's too tight on the nail, what can happen? Onycholiasis. All right, so you see that? That's being pinched, and I know it's ready to pinch now, and because it's cured now. You hear it? Now, how do we remove a form, ladies? Right. So you don't want to just snatch it off. Don't just pull it and just snatch it off, right? What you want to do is pinch the tip, open up the back, and then pull it downwards and away from the client. Okay? Now, when we shape this nail, okay, I'm take my file here. Same with any other shaping technique or with tips or anything else, okay? Now, when I'm doing a square nail, I usually like to at least get the shape that I want it to be, especially with sculpted nails because your sidewalls are so important. You may want to leave your sidewalls to the after you've done your tip, so you can at least just because if you file the sidewalls, you might change you might end up with another shape. Okay, get your front view or the tip of your nail nice and as straight as you want it to be. Okay, now you're really not going to get it as straight as it should be from this view. The best way to get a very straight nail is to turn your client's hand around and file it like this, okay? But you'll get your own filing technique, what you like to do. Now, the reason why I want to do my mark with my marker, I want to mark so you guys can see my filing technique, okay? So, I'm going to mark this up. Don't worry about all that. So you can see where the scratch marks are, okay, when we're filing, so that you can see. I'm going to also show you how thin this nail is. This one doesn't have this is a salon style nail, y'all. How do you know? Because there ain't no deep C curves. I didn't cut any relief cuts. I didn't try to make it that perfect 50% C curve. Okay, I followed along with the client's natural nail, and that's perfectly fine when somebody's paying you, like I said, $50 for a set. All right. Now, notice how thick this nail is. It ain't thick at all. Okay. That first bead that you lay on that nail, on that form, that's what you're trying to achieve, is a nice even level, the thickness that you want. How thick? That ain't very thick. That's about thick as an Amex card. Okay, so my filing technique. I did my tip. Now I'm gonna do my sides. Make sure that they are nice and squared out. Okay, use your file like it is a pizza cutter. Okay, if you want a square nail, then you got to cut it square. Okay, you got to hold the file straight. If you hold it at an angle, you're going to get a different shape. If you try to get under here and if you hold it tilted in a way, you're going to end up with notches right there that will catch on your client's hair and everything. So, again, we're following the midline of the nail, aren't we? And this is filing the underside. Same thing here, because you can see it kind of needs to be filed a little bit right there, doesn't it, to bring it up. So, again, straight. Okay. And now for the top. What I like to do is address the tip first. Okay. Because the tip, if it needs to be level. If it ain't level, everything else is going to be off. So, watch my markings. We start here. And we twist the client's fingers. Okay? You see what's missing? That's what I address first. Always. In my technique. Okay? I'm going to get that little black off the tip right there. Okay? Then we're going to address the cuticle area. So we're going to go around the cuticle area. This is much easier to do with a file that has a curve on it. I'm going to start here and bring the file around, addressing that cuticle area. And now what's left, we don't want to file away our apex completely, but we do want to make sure that it blends into the front. So just bring it all together lightly. It will show you where your deep points are and where your high points and where your low points are when you hit that file to that nail with markings on it. Okay? And then that's it. Buff it. File underneath. I always like to get the little rough edges right there. And that is your completed sculpted nail. Now, at state board, you have to soak this off. So you definitely want to make sure it's not thick, extra long, and, you know, just too much work. So when you get ready to do, you guys are going to try to do all 5, right? And then when you get ready to take this off, you're just going to pull the tape, okay? And it should pop off easily. If I can, well, I say that and I can't get the dang on tape off. Okay, but this technique is going to be a lot easier for you to remove this stuff. Okay, boom. Okay, and that's what you're going to do today as many times as you can. All right,